Hi, welcome back to Fit Golf Performance Centers. My name is Jason. I'm a trainer here at Fit Golf Conshohocken, and my partner here, another trainer with me, is Bruce Gonzaga. So today we're going to talk about an essential topic for all golfers looking to develop more speed in their swing. And the topic today that we're going to dive into is training, moving, exercising in all three planes of motion. So what does that mean? The golf swing is a pretty complex movement. It's not as simple as running forward or back or even just moving side to side. When we're swinging the club, the body moves in three planes of motion. So today we're going to describe what those planes of motions are, how we develop ground reaction force within those planes of motion, and exercises that you can add into your routine to ensure that you're transferring what you're building in your fitness routine into your golf swing. Before we start, check out the link in the description below. There, when you click that link, we're going to have an option for you to download the guide to what you're going to see today. That way you don't have to refer back to this video when you decide to do these exercises at home or in your gym. Okay, so let's go through three planes of motion, the types of forces that we develop to create speed within those planes of motion, and exercises, great choices for exercises that you can use to improve your body to develop more speed in your swing. So the first plane that we're going to talk about is called the sagittal plane. And this is probably the plane of motion in which a lot of you guys and girls already exercise in. So the sagittal plane, for example, some things that take place in it are squats, hip hinge movements such as deadlifts, right? So when we do think of sagittal plane, this is how we set up, get in the posture. And within the sagittal plane, we create something called vertical force. So one of our favorite exercises in the sagittal plane to create vertical force is called a forward lunge. So we're going to have Bruce demonstrate this now. So for a forward lunge, what we want to do is set the feet together. All right, we're going to take a forward step, and then Bruce is going to push his body back to starting position with as much speed and force as possible, right? So do that a couple times. Now, many of you doing this may feel unstable, a little wobbly. If that's the case, just grab a golf club and support yourself for a set or two, or maybe the first few times you do this in the first few workouts, just to get a feel of what's going on. Now, in the golf swing, what happens as we're trying to post up into our lead leg, we're pushing the foot down and forward, and that's mimicking the forces here in the forward lunge exercise. All right, now, if you feel okay with the golf club, if you feel okay unsupported, one way to add complexity to this exercise is inducing some rotation. So what Bruce is going to do is he'll take another few lunges forward, and as he's lunging, he's going to turn his body to the right. You can see how that's more challenging. Bruce lost some stability in the first rep. He regained it there. Good. And now, Bruce, I want you to start rotating as you're striding forward. So right into it, right out of it. Good hard push into the ground. One more time. Nice. Good job, and take a break. So that's a pretty advanced exercise, adding that rotation, but that's going to help you develop more vertical force, which is kind of that jump force to create more club speed. And that exercise takes place in the first plane of motion called the sagittal plane. Now, the second plane of motion that we're going to work on is in the frontal plane. Now, the frontal plane is where we shift weight, right? So in the backswing, we have to load our trail leg. That requires a movement to the side into the trail leg. In the downswing, we have to shift the weight for right hand into our left leg. So that rock and roll motion, or that weight shift, takes place in the frontal plane where we develop horizontal forces, right? So our favorite exercise to train the lower body in particular in this plane of motion is called the lateral lunge. So what we're going to do to lateral lunge is we're going to start feet together nice and tall, and then Bruce is going to take a step out to his left. He's going to load his left leg and hip and then come back to the right. It's important here that as that left foot lands, the toes are pointing forward. His right leg remains straight, so keep that right leg straight. And his whole body, his trunk, is getting over his left leg. So this mimics shifting weight and going from right to left in the golf swing. Now, Bruce, let me see you post. So to add some difficulty to this, or complexity, what he's going to do is he's going to lunge out the same way, and he's going to go to a single leg stance. Good. Do that a couple more times, right? Into a single leg stance. Good. So this mimics the weight shift into the post at impact, which allows us to gain speed in the downswing, right? So here we're creating horizontal forces. Now, if you can do the lateral lunge, but you struggle with the lateral lunge with the post, I suggest you take a look at some of our videos pertaining to balance, right? I think if we combine good balance work with the exercises that you're seeing today, it's a great recipe to create more ground reaction force, more stability, and more speed in your swing. So far we covered the sagittal plane, which was the forward lunge, the frontal plane, right, which is the lateral lunge where we're creating horizontal forces in weight shift. The last plane of motion is called the transverse plane. And this is the plane of motion in which we rotate in. And now in this plane of motion, in terms of ground reaction force, we're creating torque or rotational force. So it's a little bit harder to find exercises within this plane of motion, but one of our favorites is called a 180 jump, right? It's a great exercise for any golfer, particularly older golfers, because we're not really asking ourselves to jump high with this. We're just asking ourselves to develop some rotational force and torque. So to do a 180 jump, Bruce is going to get into a nice athletic position. Okay, he's going to load and turn and coil into his right leg, and he's going to spin around fast to the left. Very important here that we remain balanced, not on our toes, not on our heels, which will help you maintain posture in your swing. Load, explode, good, and he's going to go to the right. He's going to load, explode, good, and you can relax, right? So that's also really important, is developing torque or rotational force in the swing, all right, in the transverse plane of motion, the rotational plane of motion, to help with that final ingredient to create speed. So again, what we find with a lot of golfers is that they typically train in one plane of motion, which is the sagittal plane. You're doing your squats, maybe you're doing your lunges, deadlifts, so on and so forth. But if you want to improve speed in your swing, you have to introduce exercises in the other two planes of motion, which is the side-to-side motion, the frontal plane, and the rotational plane of motion called the transverse plane. So again, we have forward lunge, some options for you there, a couple of options for your lateral lunge, and then we wrapped up here with the 180 jump to help develop that rotational ground reaction force in your swing. If you start adding these three exercises or variations of these exercises in your workout, your body's going to be much better suited to maintain your speed and pick up some speed down the line. Hope you enjoyed this. Give it a try. Again, in the link in the description below, you'll find a guide to this workout. I encourage you to download that so you have that to refer back to what we talked about today. Thanks.